She never said that. No, because then it would smell like cigarettes. Then they'll be like, She thinks so strong. Yeah, she never does. Everyone around her. For everybody else, I'm like, I like how one side
you guys, coming to have your attention, we have, before the band starts, we have a little kind of slideshow presentation, a little movie that takes you on a journey through Al White's life. Some of you are going to see yourselves in this presentation we've got here. And then before Uriah's storm ritual starts, we're going to bring people up who'd like to just kind of share stories that they'd like to tell about our friend Al White. So that'll be after the slideshow, which is going to begin mere moments from now, right here. We hope you guys are all enjoying yourselves. Thank you everyone who made the trip from far as well, like starting with you guys. It's amazing. One thing about Lake Geneva you guys might not know is they don't know how to party here. And so y'all are here and you're doing it. It's awesome. And Al would love that. This town falls asleep at like 7 o'clock. And it's full of a bunch of fibs too. I'm sorry, there's a lot of people from Streeter here. You might not know about fibs. Just ask the person next to you. Give it up for our bartenders, you guys. And they've been, really great. They're not used to a crowd like you guys. No party quite like you. And let's all, if we could, let's raise our glass for our friend Al White, everybody. Let's hear it for Al White. Thank you so much. All right, thank you guys so much. Let's have one more for Al, you guys. And I hope you guys have had a little time to think about what you'd like to come up and say. Is there anyone that wants to get up here and share a story about our friend Alan White, aka Uncle Al? Anybody, please.
Can we hear? Okay. So I wrote this down because I don't think I can just do this on the fly. All right. First and foremost, I do want to thank everyone for coming. I'm blown away by the support of this. Seeing all of Alan's friends from the time he was little to now, it's overwhelming. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. So, just want to talk a little bit about what it was like growing up with my brother Alan. As I'm sure you can all imagine, Alan had a larger-than-life personality from the very beginning. He was uninhibited and outgoing and never knew a stranger. When we were little, we would go up to Murphy's, which was a local dime store luncheonette, for lunch. He was known to walk up to random tables and simply ask other diners if they were going to eat their pickle. And if not, could he have it? And though people may have been a little surprised, they usually handed over their pickles. As I believe everyone knows, Alan was artistic. When we were young, Alan loved making. He was always pretending to be different characters and putting on plays or skits. He also loved creating characters. Alan made an entire collection that he called Awful Adolescents that were his spin on Garbage Pail Kids. Most were made from a block of wood and for the body and a styrofoam ball for the head. And every character had a name and no two looked alike. In fact, Alan was so good at creating characters that one year when Alan was in school at St. Anthony's, over dinner each night, he would tell us daily updates about the kid named Slugger in his class. Now, for those of you who went to school with him but don't remember Slugger, Slugger was the kid who did things like run faces backward at recess, never knew the right answer in class, and was constantly getting in trouble. A few months into Alan's daily updates on Slugger, my dad asked my mom about how this kid Slugger hadn't been kicked out of school yet, and my mom had to inform my dad that Slugger wasn't real, and Alan was just making up these stories to entertain us. And during those early years, Alan wasn't just artistic. He was also something of a legend in sports. And no, that was not because of his athletic prowess, but because of his headbands. When Alan went on the field at a soccer game or took the court at a basketball game, you can be certain that his spiky hair was securely in place behind a headband. And if Double Zero scored a basket, it was likely followed by a standing ovation from the crowd. Of course, Alan didn't continue with sports in high school. He fell in love with music, both listening to it and singing. Our basement was the home to many heavy metal bands over the years with crazy band names like Ronnie Cauchin and Shenanigans. And I think some of these idiots are here tonight, so right alongside Alan's love of music was his love of drawing and painting. I know that's evident with the display of Alan's own unique brand of art displayed here tonight. His creative mind is always churning, and I'm so grateful that his art is here to remind us of him and his creativity. Alan was truly so much more than that can be summed up in any speech. He loved with his whole heart. Alan could see the good in everyone and wanted the best for them. Alan could make anyone feel good about themselves with the compliments he gave or the teasing he inflicted on those he loved most. Alan had a sick sense of humor, and he also loved animals. He had some demons and was far from perfect, but he was kind and more charitable than almost anyone I've ever known. He gave haircuts to homeless and runaway teens and made them feel dignified. He loved dogs the most, but he had a love for betta fish that he gave the most absurd names to, like Handsome Dan and Angry Pete. He was forgetful, but somehow could quote movies that he had hadn't seen in years. He also could watch his favorite movies a million times and never tire of them. Some of the movies that were watched most in our house growing up were Dream Little Dream, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and Crybaby. Alan rarely called anyone by their given name and had a nickname for almost everyone. The one major exception to that was our mom, who he never called Mom, he called her Gail, since that's what everyone else called her. Alan loved making people look good, whether he was outfitting them in tuxedos or giving them a new haircut. Alan loved wearing sport coats, but he also loved wearing leather coats and leather pants. Alan was terrible at keeping a surprise and always wanted to give presents early because he just couldn't wait. Patience was not one of his virtues. Alan loved his wife and his family. What Alan hated was mice sitting still, and he really hated people being sad, which is why instead of a funeral, today we're having a celebration of his life. So in honor of Alan, please raise your glass, compliment a stranger, or give some shit to your friends. And if everyone could please toast for the right on.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. I thought there'd be a line formed by now, you guys. What's going on? Oh, here we go.
I just wanted to thank all of you, all three of you. You made me laugh. Got lost a lot. So, got lost and he called me. And he said, "Ma, I'm lost." I said, "Well, where do you think you are?" He said, "I think I'm out of the state." I said, "You're out of the state?" And he said, "Yeah. I don't know what state I'm in." And I said, "Well, go to the office, see where you are." So he pulls up and he gets into this gas station. And this guys who understand the world were sitting there. And they were African American. And they saw this skinny little white kid coming out of the car. And they started laughing and pointing. "Well, what are you doing here?" And he said, "I'm lost." But in no time, those men found a way to give him directions and get him gas and get him on his way back home. It's just the kind of kid he was. He could make anybody a friend. He never knew the difference between anybody, no matter who you were, who was your friend. And I just wanted to take a minute and reflect upon the wonderful son I had and how well loved that's all.
Can everyone hear me? So, I'm here with my sister, my brother,
me. We're out as kids. And I just want to say thank you for coming in. He was a great dad. We 6 years. And in those 6 years, he meant a lot. He was a great dad, a great husband, a great papa. Especially to actually be like his dog. But we're very grateful for you guys for coming out here for us, for my mom. I don't know if you guys want to say anything at all, but we're just very grateful. He meant a lot to me, especially when I was going through a tough time. He was there for me. And I really, really appreciate him for that. And even though I keep telling everybody this watch I'm wearing is the only gift I got for anybody that was deployed in the Middle East. Because when I saw it, I thought down. And I'm wearing it as a reminder that how much I love him, how much he meant to me as a father.
I have a little story. I don't know if you guys should have known this. He was a big wrestling guy, right? He was a really, really big wrestling guy. I was too, as like a kid. Oh, fuck, not many. But he brought that back out of me when I came back home from the Marine Corps. We're WWE guys, not so much AEW. So if you guys like AEW, that sucks. Like, one night, it was actually during the day, we found out that Sting was retiring, and it was a pay-per-view. I paid like $60 for him, $60 for it, and we were like, why not? Just me and him in the living room, right? We fell asleep. It was like a 4-hour long pay-per-view. We were just waiting for the last match, because of course it was the last match. We fell asleep halfway through. We both woke each other up because we both snore. So we looked at each other. We good? We good? All right, cool. And we watched the match the whole time. We got hyped. We were high-fiving each other. Like, hell yeah, this is so important. Like, you know what I mean? So that's a memory that will always live with me, with Alan. I'm always forever grateful for kind of him getting me out of my shell in terms of like music and like wrestling and all that other stuff. So, yeah, I'm forever grateful for him. Thank you, guys.
And one day, when Ella was little, he was running the kitchen. There's a guy in the closet. And you go, I know, just shut the door. I just miss him. He was such a never-lot smile, such a nice person. And it's so nice to see so many people. I know I don't have this kind of crowd if I ever. Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, it's not bad. A little bit. All right, I know I'm trying.
How's everyone doing?
Oh, right there.
On behalf of my sister. She just wants to thank everybody for being here. She knows how much on her behalf, the past 5 years. Just seeing the love we have for her speaks volumes. And I'm thankful for them. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Have fun, celebrate Ellen. Remember one. Enjoy each other, enjoy life. And life. Thank you, everyone.
I'm Morgan. I've known Al since I was 6 years old. My dad was his manager at Vegas Footwear. And then years later, I ended up at beauty school. So at beauty school, not only do we learn hair, but we learn makeup and facials and nails and waxing. So during our waxing course, I was the model for bikini wax. And the teacher asked me if I was comfortable if Al was in the room. Because I've known him since I was 6 years old. I said, yeah, because he's modeling the course. And then they asked him, and he goes, well, I've known her since she was 6, and she's basically like my niece, so no. So he left the room and he got off scot-free from the bikini course. So he was lucky.
Mikey.
Hey, I don't know if we met. I mean, we met at Walmart a couple times. We whipped it out, ran out together with them.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
We loved that, man.
First assistant manager.
He was always smiling and everything. He was. The thing I'm going to regret the most, I wanted to go to concert. He wanted to go to social media, and I wanted to go too. I know you guys when you told me about it. I asked him about it. I wish I could have went.
He talked about you. Great man.
It's the biggest regret of my life, not being able to join you guys. Around.
So many times. You still over there?
Quick too early. No suffering. That's good. It's a good thing, Thanks for having us.
My name is George. I'm Morgan's dad. Just to piggyback on what Morgan said, that was probably one of my favorite stories. I did working with Al for 2 years at Vegas, and he's known Morgan since 6 years, since he was 8. And one day Morgan calls me up and said, you know, I wish I was going to Vegas. She said, you will never guess in a million years. He was one of my classmates. I'm never going to guess. Crazy Uncle Al, was like in my class, my grade class. I had no clue he was wanting to do anything like that. But, just to go back a few years, Gail White moved to the city with well, I think I always get this mixed up. They didn't have to help me. I think Ellen came first, and then Adrian, and then Gail. But I gotta tell you, I was pretty new to Wisconsin myself, and these guys coming from Streeter. Adrian often mentions that I'm the one who was responsible for her staying here. And I think I've told Gail this on a text. I said, you know, Gail, I wouldn't have gotten through many of these years without you and Adrian and Alan by my side. So thank you so much for moving here. wish you were here, but I'm gonna hold on to those memories so tight. Do the same.
Hey everybody. Ooh, there we go. There's my. Hi everybody. I'm Tom Geibel. I met Al when I was 16 years old, working at Genghis Formwear, where a lot of us met that age. Where he got his penchant for suits and being dressed up despite his punk rock appearance and his really bad tattoos. When I was 19, I got my first apartment with my friend Jeff, who eventually Al nicknamed the Captain after hearing his few stories. And we needed a roommate. And we were like, oh shit, the only person I know that needs a place is Al White. And he moved in with us. And I credit that man to making us both grow up, become adults, be around punk rock dudes, drink beer, learn how to be that kind of thing. He was an interesting and fun individual to live with at that age. We were all young. Some of my favorite memories of this point, and I'm just going to keep it really tight and quick, hopefully. I remember him coming home a period from Genghis Formwear. He would dress up. He would occasionally put on a little piece of cardboard around his neck so he looked like a reverend, and then he just, God bless you. He eventually got, I believe he got his license to marry Adrian, and he would tell me stories. He's like, yeah, every once in a while, I'll come over to Adrian and her fiance and just go, man or wife, and then run away. That would always make me laugh. But because of that man, because of Al White, we named, the house became known as the Church of Murray because he was always the Reverend Al. And this is a name that stuck around for many people that never knew Al. They just knew it like, yeah, we're going back to the Church of Murray to party. This is the house where we go to. And Al was the reason of that. He was the impetus for that. And as we got older and life went on, Al and I would still talk, reach out, and there was a lot of things that he influenced in me, like learning good punk rock, appreciating good records and stuff. There's a lot of things I haven't thought about for many years, but being here, I didn't realize how much Al has influenced my life to just make me who I am, and have the tastes I have, the things I enjoy. And we haven't been close, maybe the last few years, but we would text every once in a while, and I would always check in and see how he was. And, I wish he was here, and he's not. But he's touched everybody's lives, and he did a lot of good things. And he did, made us who we are, and I appreciate that. And let's raise one for him.
We experienced a lot of life together. Me, Jeff, Michael, all together. I got to know Al White from 1992. I think when Jerry, Jesse, and those guys were in an apartment complex that I owned for 15 years later. They rock till all hours of the morning. Pretty ruckus. TVs would go flying out the third story window. It was absolute madness. It was absolute craziness. And then somehow I went to grade school. I was an iron worker for a long time, and I couldn't do that anymore. We ended up in beauty school. And we ended up working on a lot of really cool projects. Everything from Quasimodo Theater, Aveda fashion shows, body marking shows, myself, Al, and some of the other guys that you saw, East and Michael here together. I remember beauty school, there were a couple of things that happened. comes him out, and Al was washing his hair, he's saying the old Davis. And he turns on the water, and the water's probably fine, but he put the water on Steve Gilbertson's head to wash his hair. And Steve Gilbertson jumped up and yelled, "Oh my God, that burns!" Oh my God. But he was fine. And there's another story. He really didn't burn him. Another story that comes to mind is there was this little old lady that came in for a Institute to have her eyebrows waxed. You know, and she sits in the chair and puts a towel around her neck and looks at her eyebrows, looks her straight in the face and goes, "So, which one do you want to keep?" This old lady looks like to have a heart attack. I have lots of memories of that way. A lot of them R-rated. Some of them PG. But that guy was an amazing person. He had a heart of gold. I loved him to death. We went through a lot together, man. And I'll miss him for the rest of my life.
Yeah. All right, you guys. So, my name's Michael. I actually don't even know how long I was friends with Al. We were kind of like in kind of adjacent circles for a long time before we like really became friends. I don't know how, but like we both had our separate lives, which they raised in Tampa Bay. Which, another one missing here tonight. But Al and I we started working at Marshall Fields together, because I was around when Marshall Fields, but it's old. And we did a lot of Black Fridays together. That was kind of like our Vietnam. Al, he didn't drive at this time. He usually doesn't drive. And I was a designated driver for a lot of you idiots. You probably don't even remember. That's okay. I do. It's my job. I would love when he would ask for a ride. And I was like, of course. Like, oh, we got to start work at 4 in the morning. Like, I would love someone in the car on the way there, on the way back. And it was the best that it was Al. Because it was like someone to talk about Masters of the Universe with, and shit like that. It was, and that was someone said earlier. Like, I wish I could. One thing I really wish I would have expressed to Al is the influence he had on me. He'd tell you like something was awesome, and you'd be convinced, because he's usually right. Many years later, you could bring it back up to him, and his opinion would completely change. Who could have guessed he would have been such a Katy Perry freak? That was the weirdest thing. When I realized who the hell Katy Perry was, like, what? But I still trust him. Like, there's got to be something magical about Katy Perry that I'm not aware of. And one of the things, man, I'm gonna miss the most. And I know a lot of people in this room had this experience. This is my favorite. Al would call you up, and we see who's calling. When our phone rings.
Yeah, who is it? Oh, he goes. No, he goes.
Like, hey, what's up, man? And there'd be a long pause. Who is this? And it got me every single time. Like, without fail. Dozens, probably hundreds. I always love getting calls from Al. I'm gonna really miss not having chats with someone like Al that I have so much in common with. And one thing, Maria, that a lot of people don't get away with is we took do what's part of it, right? And I do, just like everyone, I want to thank you for being there, because you were there till the end, like Chucky. And I want to thank you for that. He loved you so much and talked about you so much and how much he loved you and how much you meant to him and the life that he lived. I think it was, I don't think he could have had a better, I can't imagine him getting a better last 5-6 years of his life spending with you, and he knew that too. So thank you so much for being so good last night. And is Gail still here? And I told Gail before, and I thank you for Al, right? Like, it's because he really, when it happened, it was like the first thing I thought was like, that's just too big. It's because he really did. He made friends everywhere he went, right? Like every one of you had your own special relationship with Al. It was so unique, to know Al and how he was. And that was like, he was incredible at that. And he touched so many people's lives, and you can feel it here. So yeah, I want to thank all of you guys too for being a part of Al's life as well, on behalf of everybody like me who loves Al so much. So yeah, thank you guys all, and give it up again please for my friend Al White. And I suppose without further ado, I'm going to put the house music on, and then are we ready to go? All right, you guys. So I'm going to tell you something about these guys. So Uriah knew Al, and that's like, I'm cool with Uriah because he's cool with Al. And like, he vouched for him. And I saw these guys play about, 5-6 months ago. I was sitting right there, and the whole time, and it really was geographically, Al is just like as the eagle flies, like, what do you think, Maria, about 5 blocks that way? Is where Al was resting his head. It was just like everything that these guys did for like 2 hours on this stage was just pure Al White. So that's why these guys are here. It's like, it is poetry that this band is playing tonight, and then they're gonna be really like fun, and it's gonna go all over the place, and then the next guys are really nasty, and that's gonna be a lot of fun too. So Uriah Storm Ritual is gonna play for you. They're incredible. I'm giving it to you guys.
No, they put the instruments on it.
Check 2.
Tell you 4 words that I've never said under this roof. Tonight's going well. Never happened. It was literally like by the grace of God, I swear to God. It's something. It's always like, it's always something, and it's always more. Yes.
Mine is a long line.
Check one, check two.
One of the many older cousins. I never known anybody to
You did really good. You did really well. The sound is just better up there. The sound is better up there. It's a lot softer. You guys are. When she comes back, you guys should hang over here. I'm gonna walk with it. I swear, this is gonna walk with it. I know. You guys.
Does anybody want to hear the bass player sing a little bit while I catch my breath? Sing a little bit. You want to swap a little bit? We're going to do some 90s ska too. I got one. He's got one? Just one? This one's for Al. Okay, but I love this. You can call me. Good morning. That's one of my most favorite songs to sing. You want to switch? You want to switch on me? Yeah. Brother? I don't think we'll have to. It's all enough. Check. Absolutely not, dude. Some people recognize this one. Here we go.
song's called Red Sweater by the Acrobats. One of my favorite bands growing up. Very influential for me. I don't know if you know that. Definitely listen to all their albums. They're too much fun. This is the original, it's called Choke.
She likes to run, now she's screaming, as her memories is hanging. She wants to be, she can be, and I give her like my everything. She wants to know, in the soul, cause it matters is that she's feeling so low, she is so low.
How you doing, sorry?
It's a little hot in here, man. We're a little loud, so everybody. People around here don't like real music. They're like cover bands. You know what? I like to kick shit in the fucking ass a little bit, especially for my buddy Alan White. Sometimes winds will see to erase my sins while I close my eyes. And soon I look up there and I fall. Maybe I up in school and they said, who's fucked up? Who's a little fucked up? I like it. Yeah, this man is pretty fucking cool, man. One more time for everyone, let's hear you! Hey, baby, coming to the chance. And I'm all fucked up in the school, they say, go on, baby.
One here.
Thanks, dude.
We got two more, and then we're gonna let the next band play.
Next page up with the next two songs. And mine is. Next song's called Sunnyside. After these messages.
We got one more here. Next band's coming up.
Yeah, the frog.
You know what's crazy? Who was it to talk about Al's leather pants? I got a story to tell you. I got a story to tell you guys.
I think it's his sister.
Crazy as shit. Remember Al and his leather pants, dude?
No.
Dude, of course you remember. He wore
Al
them.
never wore leather
He wore those
pants.
things for like a year, dude.
Forever and ever, man.
I was like, dude, how do you clean those things? He goes, stick in a liner. Wash the liner. And I'm like, oh shit, those things don't have a liner, dude. I'm not kidding. You wore those leather pants for like a year, man. Oh my god.
Very cute.
That was funny as hell. One time he showed up.
He said Alan had leather pants.
Yeah.
Yes, I still have them.
And he wore those leather pants for like a year.
I still have them.
One time, like every day.
They have holes inside.
Huh?
They have holes inside.
Oh, really?
They're worn out.
Really? That's crazy because I always ask him, like, dude, how do you clean those things? He goes, they have a liner. I'm like,
They still sit out.
I'm like, bullshit. He goes, no, they have a liner. I'm like, no, dude, no. And then one time, it was funny because right after that, he showed up in the shop and he was wearing these white
He still has that. He would wear that outfit. And I would look like white pants. Yeah, white pants and flip-flops. And he wore flip-flops and a blue t-shirt. Yeah. And I was like, maybe I'll wear something. Once in a while, I was doing it. I said, you're
Glad I never saw that.
I've always wanted it black. Yeah, black. Yeah, everything was black. I don't think I ever see him in another color.
We all wear black. That's the whole funny thing. We have a friend that, she's like, you guys always wear black. Where did you guys always wear black? And me and Al both at the same time. That's kind of funny because it's not anything that we ever talked about. We were both like, we'll stop wearing black when it makes darker colors.
Take this moment to show an appreciation for Uriah storm ritual. How fun was that, guys? Give it up for the band. Holy crap. Nice job, Uriah. Next up, you guys. Just setting up again. Myers Rewards. Get nasty. You're gonna get nasty up here. Thank you guys. Love you,
Oh, you do the invert. Oh, wow. She said because all of her grandkids are growing up. She said, where's my and so I said, oh, like we have Jackson and Emily. Definitely know something. Yeah, come fishing. You're gonna get bed like That's why I was kind of like, gonna do a story. I could have told it better, but I was also kind of. I was trying to summarize it up because I didn't want to like be up there.
I'm gonna deal with these guys until all the fun rock comes. So we'll see if we're waiting a little bit. You do alright? I like this. There's a lot of stuff going on. How much support you got? You know what I mean? This is really great. Okay? Love you. Give me a hug. Thanks for coming, guys. Appreciate it. Was it a good enough spread?
Down to the graveyard shift
I need a picture of that picture, actually.